Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and joining me to look at the key team developments and manager quotes ahead of a normal Game Week 24, not a double, a normal Game Week 24 is Neale. Neale, welcome. How are you?
I'm not too bad, Joe. Yeah, how have you been?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I know. I've been enjoying. Well, I say I've been enjoying the break. We had worked on our bathrooms, so so basically it came at a fortuitous moment because any live streams or recordings I would have done would have involved some blokes smashing a toilet and a bath apart. so there we go. So
that was me after Game Week 23. Doing pretty much the same thing.
Oh, really? You're having your bathrooms done as well. So, welcome everyone in the live chat to Fantasy Bathroom Scout, talking about all the latest renovations and toilet developments. Thanks a lot to FPL Gaza, Avishek, Daniel, Joe Bob, Wolep, Shane, Gavin, and especially from Somerset-based Scott, who's joined us. Thank you all for joining us in the live chat. Lots of you have joined us, in your hundreds. Only a few likes though, so do press that like button. What we're going to do is we're going to look sort of chronologically, really, at the team news. So we'll look at the team news for those who are playing tonight, and then looking at Wednesday and then Thursday. But as good journalists, we have to go with the headline story, and that is Mo Salah going to be available? So let's start there. Neale, what is the news from Klopp about Salah?
Well, it's a bit of bonus information, really, because we thought we weren't going to hear from Klopp ahead of the deadline. He'll do his press conference tomorrow, along with Arteta, Bruno, Lager, and Rodgers. The four teams are on Thursday. But he was speaking to club media today, Klopp, and he gave us a hefty quote on Salah, saying that he's essentially putting himself up for selection. He wants to play, no doubt about it. He was straight back from AFCON on Tuesday. He was already in Liverpool. Caroline was tracking the flight online, and he's talking him up in terms of involvement. There's still an element of doubt as to how much game time he will get. Klopp saying that he's a physical monster, but that he would have to see how he feels tomorrow, and then they won't rush him. But it's probably more positive than what we thought a couple of days ago when Egypt had another extra time run out at African Cup of Nations. Mane won't feature; he won't be involved on Thursday, so that is one spot down in the front three. But Salah, I think, it's pointing towards a match day squad appearance of some form. It's just now whether it's from the start or not.
Okay, this is crucial news. Statistically and in the eye test as well, they are playing the worst defence in Leicester. So it's going to be looking like many people considering a Liverpool player to captain. So you would think that Jota would start in the front three without Mane there. There are other options, but you would think if Salah wants to play, Klopp wants to play him, that he'll play him. Possibly could be on the bench, but I'd be very surprised if he doesn't have significant minutes in this.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other news from Liverpool of note that we should, before we move on to Leicester?
Yeah, a little bit. It's all pretty much good news, I think, from Liverpool camp. There's only Mane who's out, and that's just because he's a late return from AFCON. Nothing injury related. Everyone who was previously flagged, even if they are still flagged, it'll be for match fitness and not an injury. So it's just that they're all back in training. It's just whether or not they're 100% match ready. So Oxlade-Chamberlain, Gomez amongst that bunch. They had COVID last week, but they're back in training. And we've seen the likes of Thiago and Harvey Elliott back in the match day squad at the weekend. Origi's even back in training, so they've got pretty much everyone available.
Wow. Okay. So could be good. Now, hopefully, for those that are considering backing Salah, which could be me, there won't be a repeat of last time when Salah blanked. So hopefully there'll be some points there. But at least we have the team news in from there. Leicester. Yeah. I mean, they've got bodies back, but. I was hearing some quotes from Brendan Rodgers earlier in the week. He wasn't keen on the bodies he's got at the moment for Leicester.
No.
Yeah, is it a case of it doesn't matter whether they're injured or not, or whether they will start or not, whether they're in the good books with Brendan Rodgers?
Yeah, it was probably the worst result for Liverpool in a sense that I've never quite seen Rodgers that incandescent before, and you'll probably get a reaction from Leicester of some variety. I mean, obviously you can't teach competency in 4 days, but there will be, I'm guessing, some kind of additional effort after that debacle at Forest. So yeah, he was talking about how some players he thinks have reached their level now. They can't go any further. How they were not top players because they can't sustain
Who do you think
consistency.
that he's talking
Could
about
it,
there?
yeah, well, I wonder. There was 3 hooked off, but it could have been any number of them. Tielemans
Okay.
was off. Harvey Barnes, I think Lookman came off as well. It really could have been any number of them. Tielemans has been out of sorts for a while. Really, I've seen a lot of Leicester fans saying he should be taken out of the spotlight for a while. So I think there will be changes. They did beat Liverpool in December, as recently as December, playing with Ndidi and Amati as centre half. So it can be done, but they did get a lot of luck that day. Salah missed the penalty. Schmeichel on good form. So yeah, Liverpool obviously options are big captaincy shouts this week. Even if you're not going with Salah, likes of Jota and Alexander-Arnold. On the injury front for Leicester, by the way, I'll just summarise.
Yeah.
As we know, we haven't got a press conference from Rodgers yet, but we know that, for example, Bertrand's going to be out, Evans, Castagna, Fofana, and Vardy, who's out for, I think, another 4 weeks or so. They're all out. And Mendy will be, their Mendy, not the Chelsea one, will be laid back from African Cup of Nations as well.
Okay, well, let's sort of go back to chronologically and move forward. So we've got the deadlines tonight. We've got a Scoutcast tonight, 5:30. Myself and Kylie will be, hopefully, from my point of view, not taking any hits, but we'll talk more about our plans, largely based on probably our chat today about team developments then. So enough of that. So look at the fixtures. So tonight we've got Newcastle against Everton, West Ham against Watford, and Burnley against Manchester United. So let's start with the Manchester United-Burnley clash. Manchester United, I noticed that Ralph Rangnick was talking about Jesse Lingard and Cavani. I don't care about them. I don't know about other managers. I care about Fernandes, who I'd probably want to bring in Gameweek 25 at least for their double. What's he been saying about Jesse Lingard and Cavani, but also about the other players as well?
Well, he's confirmed that Lingard and Cavani are going to be in the squad. They were both granted a bit of leave for the FA Cup for different reasons. But he didn't offer us much else on the team news front. He did say that belatedly Tellez and Fred are going to be out of this one because of COVID. Mason Greenwood, of course, is not being considered for selection right now. We didn't get anything on the other 4 who are flagged. That's Lindelof and Bailly, who missed out in the FA Cup, and then Sancho and Bruno, who picked up, well, I say problems in the FA Cup. It's probably nothing. The only reason they are flagged, and in the case of Bruno especially, who completed the game, he finished 120 minutes against Middlesbrough, was that United put up a quote afterwards saying that they're hopeful they'll be fit for Tuesday. Now, wherever there's a hopeful, as I've mentioned before, there's a flag. In FPL, FPL do like to cover themselves in case of the worst case scenario. But even on the team news roundup yesterday, the Man United admin, for all they know, was saying that they're expecting Fernandes and Sancho to be fit. Sancho was fatigue; it wasn't even an injury. And Fernandes, it was a minor knock to the back, and he played on. So
yeah, I saw.
In the absence of anything else, I'm suspecting.
I mean, I can add a tiny bit more to that. The Manchester Evening News did focus on things. They sort of do a section of things we learned from training, and one of those was that everyone was happy. Which they would say that because they're a bit biased, but nevertheless, they were saying that included Fernandes. So Fernandes took part in training, looked happy, joking with his teammates. Plus, I saw some pictures as well that had been taken from training, and he seemed fine. His shoulder was, he had both shoulders intact, which was great. So I think I think people who want to get Fernandes in now or already own him or want to captain him, I think they could. I think it's a 0.1% risk of him not playing. He sounds pretty assured that he's going to play. So what about Burnley? Because they're a bit changed at the moment. New personnel. Cornet back. Is he back? Yes. What's the news? What's Dikey saying about Cornetti and all the gang?
Not anything new that we didn't hear before the Watford game on Saturday, because Corney and Leghorst were paired up top for the first time against Watford. I'm expecting that'll be the same again against United. Injury-wise, it's pretty much as you were. Goodmanson and Vidra are still out. Charlie Taylor has been downgraded from touch and go to probably missing out. And Ashley Barnes is the one who could be back, but it'll be bench duty at best for him. So nothing major on the Burnley team news front.
Okay. Now, those who might still have Matt Loughton lingering around on their bench,
yes,
he's lost his place, hasn't he, at the moment?
He has, after 51 successive league starts, as I found out the other day.
Okay.
Which is just like this FPL season, isn't it? And he's double game. He's first of probably 4 or 5 double game weeks. He loses his spot after a half century of starts. I suppose initially when it happened, we were thinking, maybe Loughton had COVID and he's just come back and he maybe wasn't match fit. But then a quote from Dyche afterwards saying probably the opposite, that Roberts has earned his start and that we're going to have to use the squad and change it from time to time. He does this now and again. He used to do it with Barnsley and Loughton. One of them would be given a long stretch of games and then eventually benched if they weren't in good form. He doesn't tend to change it willy-nilly. So I think as soon as someone's got that place, it's probably theirs for a little while. So it doesn't look good for Loughton getting his place back.
Okay.
Certainly not after back-to-back clean sheets for Burnley. Why would Dyche change it again after successive shutouts? So I wouldn't be holding my breath to see him getting his place back.
No one in the live chat saying why are you talking about Burnley so much, but the reason is, if they were to ask that, is because Burnley have about half a season to play in the next few weeks. So there's going to be loads of doubles, so there's going to be lots of interest in their players. So I will be paying attention to what Dyche has got to say about the lads each week, a bit more keener there. So moving on to Everton against your lads, Newcastle. Let's go with Newcastle. Let's go with Everton first, because new manager with Frank Lampard. He's got Dele Alli, Van der Beek, all sorts of new players. It's a new look Everton. So what's the latest there from Frank?
Yeah, well, those two are going to be in the squad anyway, Van der Beek and Ali. They missed out at the weekend because they were cup tied in the FA Cup. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's back as well. He's trained, I think, the last couple of days. I think the fact that he's missed a bit of, possibly a fortnight's worth of training, maybe even longer, I wonder if he's going to be easy enough the bench. But everyone bar Delph, Godfrey and Decore are fit. And as you see there, they've got a cluster of new signings to bed in. Lampard played a 3-4-3 at the weekend, which begged the question of where Dele Alli is going to fit in that. And Van der Beek, I suppose Van der Beek can play a bit deeper. But yeah, we'll see tonight how he approaches things. It might be a horses for courses thing. He may go back to a 4-3-3 like he did often at Chelsea. But as I said in the scout notes and the team news, that they're very much a wait and see right now for FPL investment in terms of new. I mean, if you've got the likes of Gray already, then I'm playing him for this fixture against Newcastle. But I wouldn't be buying any of the players just yet. I think it's a watching brief until we suss out Lampard and his preferred personnel.
And they got is it Godfrey, isn't it? It's injured at the moment, or
Godfrey, Decore and Delph, the only three.
Okay. Some of those might be under consideration. Once again, they got some doubles to arrange as well. Perhaps not for this week though. They play Newcastle. What about another new look side? What about Newcastle? How are they shaping up for this?
Well, we've already had 2 debuts for January signings. Chris Wood and Trippier already in the side. We could get another 2 at least tonight. Bruno and Matt Targett as well. Dan Burn would be the 5th new signing, but he's got a minor toe injury. I think it's an
welcome to my world as a Brighton fan. Dan Burn,
yes,
minor injury, not going to play.
Immediately flagged upon his move, so he's a minor doubt. So might not see him from the start. Elsewhere, Richie Fernandez, you already knew they were out. Wilson, of course, was previously flagged, but a bit of bad news on that front. We thought he might be back around about March, maybe, and it looks like he's going to miss the bulk of the season. How talking in terms of him recovering for the final few games. So we're looking at kind of maybe late April, May, early May. So that means Chris Wood's obviously nail down that spot for a while. And I think, Joe Linton's fine. He's our new superstar midfielder in his new deeper role, and Dummett's probably going to miss out.
Okay, so yeah, once again, they might be of interest a bit further down the line, but perhaps might not be fielding many of their players for this week. West Ham against Watford is intriguing, because previously I would have said, wow, captain a West Ham asset, but then Watford went and got Roy Hodgson as their manager, and hey presto, they got their first clean sheet at the weekend. So perhaps not the greatest fixture, but also there's some added interest as well. So it might be a returning player for Watford, and there might be some absentees for West Ham. So let's start with Watford first. Who am I talking about here, about this returning player?
Well, you must be talking about Peter Retebo, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Of course you're not. You're talking about Emmanuel Dennis, who was...
No, well, I'm actually talking about Sarr, actually, I was thinking. But I was actually thinking about Sarr. But yeah, there's two then. Go far away, Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis missed out in that first game week, first match under Hodgson, because he was suspended for the second part of Game Week 23. No flag, of course, because he's available now for 24. So he'll be back. Hodgson said he's looking forward to seeing him. Ismaila Sarr is en route back from Africa.
Okay.
Now, he was part of the victorious Senegal side, and it sounded like he's not going to be involved in Game Week 24. Initially, the quote was reported, I think, from Simon Stone, suggesting he would be back, but that's since been changed, I think, by the club media, and it sounds like he's not going to be back for this one. But from Game Week 25, will be. So it's him and Nkulu, and there's one other, Rob Elliott, the goalkeeper, who's out. Other than that, everyone's doing very well. So Hodgson said the physio team have done a great job. As I said there, Peter Retebo was back in training as well. So they've got, in terms of absentees, they're going to have a full strength squad. A line of note of interest for Dennis owners, King owners, was that Hodgson was asked about his formation. So it was a 4-4-2 against Burnley, with King and Pedro up top, and then a really defensive midfielder playing on the right wing, as he did at Palace, actually. Hodgson, I remember him doing that at Palace. But he said he wasn't wedded to that system. He could be a 4-3-3 when he gets the likes of Sarr and Dennis back. So that's the one to watch.
So this could be a front line of Pedro, Dennis, King. It could be Dennis and King. One
of them could be playing on the left, so you could get King playing out wide on the left, as he did at Bournemouth. Pedro's playing on the left as well. Dennis has played on the right. Sarr's played on the right. So could be any combination of that.
Okay, I mean, I've got both. Many people still have both. They're lingering around like bad smells. But which one would you advise playing in terms of in the context of sort of team news and which one would be the better one to play, do you think, for this fixture
this week in Game Week 24?
King or Dennis
in Game Week 24?
Yeah.
I'd bench both of them based on what we saw on Saturday. I mean, Dennis, I own King, I don't own Dennis. Dennis is King's, he's a 90-minute man, and he plays most weeks, but he's lacking in front of goal. He's the stats lover's darling, but he just does not put the ball in the net. Whereas Dennis has proven this season that he can do it. I guess the only thing is you're going in blind with Dennis. You're not quite sure whether he's a Hodgson favourite, whether he's got that work ethic that Hodgson likes, where he's going to play. Is he going to be up top? But that was a positive quote from Hodgson, where he said that he's looking forward to seeing him on the pitch. So maybe that boded well.
Okay, I might go blind Dennis for this one rather than shot shy King. West Ham. So they've got a few absentees, or rather these annoying sort of David Moyes knocks and niggles type of quotes. So yeah, what's the latest there from David Moyes about West Ham?
Yes, a flag on Antonio, even though he's not really injured. It's a fatigue flag. It's the only one that could really be added, because it's kind of, I don't think he is necessarily tired. It's just that he had a lot of involvement for Jamaica over the international break, but has had a week since then, or near as damn it. Wasn't involved against who they played in the FA Cup, Kidderminster. He had a breather there. And it's just the fact that, again, it's this hopeful word, whether there's a hopeful. Moyes said yesterday that he's been back in training, so we know that he's fit enough to train. And he was hopeful that he'll be fully fit for the visit of Watford. So wherever there's a hopeful, there's a 75%. But I'm sure he's fine. Lanzini, not so much. He's a doubt with an Achilles, and Mascherato's seen a knee specialist. Nothing concrete on Fabianski. It sounds like he's all right, but there wasn't conclusive proof of that. He wasn't involved in the FA Cup on Saturday. He missed out in Gameweek 23. We haven't got a concrete word on whether it's COVID or injuries. It's widely reported as COVID on social media, but that's not been confirmed by the club. And all Moyes would say yesterday was that Fabianski's his number one, not Areola's a backup. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's fit for this. Zuma sounds like he's fine after that knock in the FA Cup, but of course off the field.
Yes.
Antics.
I would be just from a public relations point of view, I'd be very, very surprised to see him on a pitch anytime soon. So that could mean that Diop comes in.
It could. He had a stinker in the FA Cup against Kidderminster, and he was taken off at half time playing Diop. And Dawson came on. So yeah, Diop's the only real alternative, I think, apart from the academy lads.
I think. I mean, as a Diop owner, I got him when Zuma was out for a while, and I would very happy with him in the bench to know that he could come on. I think because I think that could be the situation there. But that's a situation to monitor. But I think if you've got Diop and you're wondering if you haven't got a bench, well, you probably have there, but is he going to get a clean sheet? Well, he could do. He could do against Watford. But this could mean good news for Dennis or perhaps maybe King in terms of knowing that Diop's there in the heart of defence. If you can call it a heart. That's Tuesday's matches. Wednesday. Let's move on. Let's get some of these out of the way first. So I'm going to put a picture of Patrick Bamford up, and you're going to tell me he's not ready yet. So Patrick Bamford leads against Villa. Is Bamford back?
No, he's not. He's not. He's in fact he's no better. Bielsa said yesterday that he hasn't improved at all, and that's 2.5 weeks since his last presser. So we're not going to see him anytime soon, by the sounds of it. He's got this foot problem. He's not even running yet, so he's obviously out with this one. Elsewhere with Leeds, they've got Cooper still out and Phillips is still out, aiming for a return in early March. Firpo should be back in the next 1 or 2 game weeks. Rafinha's flagged, but I'm not expecting this to be anything either. He came off, I think, in Brazil's last World Cup qualifier last week. It was initially reported as cramp, and I think widely reported as cramp, but then a couple of outlets suggested he took a knock to the ankle, and that was enough, and that is enough for a flag. Of course, they weren't playing in the FA Cup at the weekend because they were already knocked out, so we couldn't get any clues there. No mention of him in Bielsa's presser, so hopefully no news is good news when he was doing his injury roundup. And in fact, Bielsa said that only 4 players are out, and we know who those are: Bamford, Firpo, Phillips and Cooper. So I'm assuming he's absolutely fine.
And Villa as well. Some of their players have been in international action as well. So, how are they geared up for this?
Yeah, they've had 2 players away. In fact, both involved in the last 4 this weekend. Traore's in transit, so he's probably not going to feature. Trezeguet is coming back, and then he'll be packed off to Turkey because he's about to go on loan to Istanbul. So he's not going to feature. Injury-wise, pretty good. Nakamba's out long term. Bailey's on the cusp of a return. He's back in training, but not quite ready for this one. Otherwise, Villa are fully fit. Okay,
Man City against Brentford. So before I put the Man City slide up, just with Brentford, how are they doing? And I'm particularly interested in Christian Eriksen. Is he going to be available for this?
He's not. No, we thought this was going to be the case. He's lacking in match fitness, understandably, after being out of the game for so long. He only trained for the first time on Monday with his new teammates, so it'll be a while. Frank didn't want to put a date on it. They're going to take it day by day, but I suspect it'll be a while before we see him in a Brentford shirt, and then even then it'll be probably managed minutes off the bench for the foreseeable. But yeah, a bargain price in FPL, 5.5. I know it's Brentford, and I know we're not expecting the same player as he was at Spurs in his pomp, but still 5.5 million. We've got
I'm
some
used
real
to him
cloggers
being,
in that price bracket.
yeah, I'm used to him being a sort of a cash cow, happy to own, happy to move on, use his money elsewhere. But now he's
Yeah.
5.5. I'm very tempted, very tempted, just for old time's sake, to get him in, keep him. Man City. So they, yeah, usually Pep Guardiola's not quite as, I don't know, forthright about who's going to actually play or not. But I think he's been okay this time round, hasn't he?
He has. He's told us exactly who's out, and that's
Ooh.
Gabriel Jesus and Cole Palmer. Everyone else is fine. He also brushed off any suggestion that Grealish, Walker, and Mahrez were on the naughty step because they were pictured on a night out
Surprise,
on
surprise.
Sunday. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
always on a
And
night out.
Pep said they were going to be fined, but only for not inviting him. So he's obviously making light of that situation, and they're all fine. They were sober, apparently, despite photographs suggesting otherwise. And they did everything within the rules, and had just gone out for dinner. So not expecting any kind of punishment like we saw with Foden and Grealish earlier in the year.
Okay. No. So yeah, they won't be on the naughty step. I think I got Foden in just before he was dropped for his.
Yeah.
He put on the naughty step for a couple of games. So it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case this time round. Just in case anyone had seen that story and was wondering. Norwich against Palace. Let's go with Norwich first. Because I've been marginally impressed by them recently. I don't consider them a whipping boy or a dodgy defence to target. I think they're quite a tough outfit these days. So what shape are they in for this encounter with quite an attacking Palace side?
Yeah, there was a bit of reservation about putting Edouard in the scout picks this week because Norwich have improved. I think they're on a really good run of wins in League and Cup. I think something like 4 from 5. Kept a couple of clean sheets along the way as well. Watford and Wolves in the Cup. Obviously 2 limited attacks, but definite improvement. And the fact that they've got a lot of bodies back from injury, that's probably why we've seen that upward curve. Nothing major in the injury department that we didn't already know. Krul, Omobama Daly and Sorensen, they were already out and remain out. Josh Sargent was a fresh addition. He was ill for the Cup game, was in the lineup but then pulled out, and he's remaining a doubt for this one. But otherwise, pretty clear on the team's front. They've got Norman back as well. Gilmore's back. They played a 4-3-3 against Wolves. Smith was saying it made them more compact and reduced the number of chances. So again, what you were saying there, Joe, defensively looking a bit better. So yeah, not the stroll in the park it would have been probably 2 months ago for Palace this weekend.
Okay, so with Palace, they've got about 100 cheap attackers. I want,
Yeah.
they're okay for this. Do you think there's not any major news on the injury front?
No, and that's why they've got so many attackers up top because they're all fit. There's only really Kouyate's obviously defensive midfielder. He's still in Senegal, lapping it up. Celebrations. And MacArthur and Tompkins, again 2 defensive-minded players, sort of are back in training after injury, and Nathan Ferguson's taking a step back again. But they're all sort of defensive-minded assets, and so they've got a full complement of attackers really. And it's which 3 from 6 or 7 possibly get the nod. You would think Alicia, given out the form he's in. You would think Edouard, given that he started the last 7 league games and was rested in the cup and is in a bit of good form himself. And then Zaha would ordinarily walk into that team as well, but he's been away at AFCON and missed the cup game, so there's, I suppose, an element of doubt as to whether he walks straight back in. But yeah, that would be the front 3 probably.
Okay, with and I'm a Gallagher owner. He's you would imagine would start. There's nothing to suggest.
Oh yeah, he'll start. No doubt about that.
Good
it's just whether he'll function as well alongside Schlupp as he would with Kouyaté.
Okay, and Spurs against Southampton. Well, let's start with Southampton actually, because their budget striker Brower is getting a lot of attention, but there was some kind of injury at the weekend. So what's the latest there with Southampton, and how are they sort of geared up for this Spurs encounter?
Yeah, the flag's been lowered on Broja from 75 to 50, and that's off the bat of Hassan Huttle's comments this morning, where he said that he hadn't trained as of Sunday or Monday. He said it was still possible that he could make a late recovery, and he would be assessed today and then tomorrow. But obviously there is an element of doubt there as to whether he would be involved, and maybe they won't risk him from the start. Elsewhere, Liankos joined Teller and McCarthy on the sidelines. He's going to be out for up to 12 weeks. Livramento was back. He came back on Saturday in the cup.
That is good news, because myself, I imagine many FPL managers.
I'm not sure he'll feature this weekend. This Wednesday.
Oh.
Because Hasenhüttl said that he was planning to give him only 60 minutes, and he ended up playing 90. So maybe he'll just dial it back a bit and reinstate Walker Peters there. But yeah, for the long term and for that, for the doubles whenever they will fall, then Livramento was at one point nailed under Hasenhüttl.
Okay.
And hopefully will be again.
Okay. And for Spurs, obviously Kane and Son are the headline players that people want to get in. I'm assuming they're okay, but I understand there's some other injuries at Spurs.
Yeah, 3 players out, definitely. Dyer, Tanganga and Skip. All of those missed the FA Cup at the weekend, and no suggestions of anything. When in fact, Conte said there was nothing new. So the Spurs are otherwise fully fit. So Son came off after 69 minutes. That was his first game back. Probably just getting him bedded in for the busy weeks ahead. New signings, of course, Bentancur and Kulusevski. They'll be pushing for a first start, but Conte was stressing that they need a bit more time to get into the team and understand the technical aspect. So maybe that's more bench duty for them too.
Okay, so moving on to Thursday, we've covered Liverpool and Leicester. If you're joining us late, we'll rewind back because we were talking all about Salah in that one and how Leicester geared up as well. But let's leave arguably the best till last, really, isn't it? Arsenal against Wolves, and I haven't got a tweet here. I've just got a picture of Arteta with a mask on to symbolise him not saying anything, because we don't know what's going on with this. Apart from it's probably going to be 0-0. But
yeah, I was just going to say, two of the meanest defences outside of City.
Yeah.
Over the past few months. Yeah, Arsenal, we've not had any news from in about 3 weeks because they have not even had a cup game. So we really are in the dark. What we can tell you is that there was training ground photos, and Tomiyasu was the only notable absentee. Now he'd been out. He was ruled out, I think, in Gameweek 23 for a few weeks, according to Arteta. So he might not be back in time for Wolves. Cedric's back in training, so he might just be a like-for-like swap at right back. And I think that's it. We thought we saw everyone else come back from the various COVID ailments, and then he should be back. Well, probably from Egypt as well. But yeah, that was as much as we know from Arsenal. We could get told otherwise tomorrow. Wolves, at least we know a bit more because they were in FA Cup action at the weekend, so we have heard from Bruno Lager recently. And Trincao was the latest addition. He's got COVID. Not sure whether he's going to be back in time for Thursday. Again, they'll probably find it out tomorrow. Back on the grass, near a return, Johnny, Mosquera, Pedro Neto, Huang, all these FPL budget assets from yesteryear. Willy Bolly, another one. They're all back on the grass. Probably coming too soon, this one, but nearing a return, a lot of them. Okay. And that'll add to a very blunt attack if once Neto's back.
I just wanted to add that we didn't mention Brighton because obviously they're not playing. They've got a blank game week. But they are of interest next week when they have a double. And I just wanted to note that Trossard has COVID at the moment. So Trossard, I know, is in a number of teams. And watch this space to see whether he's going to be back for in time for that Gameweek 25 double. But that's for next week, and that's for the team news later in the week. But in the meantime, Neale, thanks so much for joining me. It's given me lots of food for thought for my moves, and I hope other people's. We've got the Scoutcast later at 5:30 tonight. That's going to be a deadline one. And I'm returning to the team news as well for later in the week when we'll be chatting about Gameweek 25 and Trossard hopefully recovering from COVID. But in the meantime, Neale, thanks so much for joining me.
And you. See you, everybody.